I have just one topic in the agenda today because it's going to be a big one, more like a workshop type of thing. And the question is, so we've been all trying to, there was this action in one of the sprint retrospectives to rotate more the facilitation of working groups. And I've been inviting some people, like last time, Gideon wanted to share about the book, and Mao Manu also had a comment about a book he wanted to bring some learnings to Softgov. And I would love to understand, like, what are other topics we should be touching on, talking about? Is there something that a cultural topic we haven't touched on yet that we should be exploring? What is, like, if we think in the general culture of the TC, is there something that we're not paying attention at? And what is that? And I would love to hear from you all. And then depending on what each one brings, we could let every person own that topic a little bit more and bring discussions and possible approaches to Softgov that we could explore as a group. So, hi, Tui, Juanca, Nate.
Livy.
Hi, Livy.
Yay, thank you all for coming. So I will start, and just for, I don't know if everyone heard that, but the question today is there a cultural topic we haven't touched on yet and that we should be exploring? And then the idea is that if there is something you would like to explore, or that you see the necessity of it, that everyone could own a little bit this topic and bring more discussions and make some threads of this, make it a work stream in Softgov. Hey, bonjour. Welcome.
Sorry, I'm late.
Oh, no problem. We are just starting. So I will start because I had something in mind that I've been thinking a lot about, that is race and gender. I think we don't speak enough about that. I think it's quite an elephant in the room, and it shouldn't be. If we are building new systems, new cultures, we should have an awareness of race, especially gender also. But I think race has even like a deeper ground there. We don't have anyone that is very active in the core of our community. We don't have a Black person who is in the core of our community right now. And I think this is something very important to note and to like not run away from, and understand how we can bring these discussions in a way that is constructive and an open space for people who are not here to be here. And also gender, not only, all expressions of gender, and how this would change a lot of our behavior. I think race and gender will inevitably change our understanding of culture, because it's so much of our expression, and people have different experiences in life. And the more experiences we have represented in the community, the more resilient we are, and more valuable discussions we can have that maybe we are blind to them right now. We have very little women in the community still, and very little trans or queer people in the community still also. So those are my points, and I'll pass to Juanca.
Great question, Livy. Yeah, I think on what you were saying on race and gender, I think like Durga has spoken about the 40 acres DAO, that is a DAO that has a lot of concern around this. And also, I was thinking about psychology. I think it's such an interesting topic, and I am happy that we are making some efforts around this with Bianca and Anna. And I also think, I don't know if it's just like me, but like thinking also on helping people who is not Web3 native. Like I still see like a very different reality every time I step out of my house from the reality that I live here, because I see so much people in need, and it would be really cool if we can do something about that. Yeah, like I love the UBI project, and sometimes I have even like made my own like group here, but it would be really cool if we can even help the people yeah, who is in the streets. And I'll pass to
Thank
Chuy.
you. Yeah, I just want to say hi to Vivi, and the question we're talking today is there a cultural topic we haven't touched on yet that we should be exploring? And you pass to Tui? Yeah.
Thank you, Juanca. I feel that, I mean, I'm I'll just take a chance and share this, but I feel in a very similar way to what you were saying, Livy. But I feel that there should also be maybe some input in the like the religion part of it, or just like different beliefs within the community. I also believe that this form of diversity sometimes can teach us a lot about our different cultures, and just a wider comprehension. And also, I personally feel that we have inherited a lot of bad practices around like religion, but I also feel that there are some really good ones that we can learn from. And we don't speak a lot about diversity in this sense, and I also feel that it could be nice to share these more ancient forms of knowledge. Um, and I do feel that I mean, not getting into the political side of it, of course, but I feel that there is a lot in general that we can learn from ancient cultures. So sometimes trying to approach a belief system can be a great way to not only learn and be more educated about it, but to also reflect on different practices and just yeah, just like cultures in general. Um, I'll pass. Oh, and I apologize in advance, but I might have to leave this call a little bit earlier. But yeah, just letting you know, and I'll pass it to Nate.
Thanks, Trudy. Yeah, so I guess it's kind of a difficult one. But I would say mental health and kind of this, this shadow that we all don't speak about a lot, which is working within Web3 and within a DAO and the type of issues that come along with it. Financial insecurity, those types of feelings, personal development. How are we progressing as individuals within what we would consider traditionally as a career, and are we all moving to where we want to be? Things of that nature. I think that will weigh down on the individual over time, and something that I think we don't pay too much attention to. And so I think that's really something that we should really focus on in terms of, especially in terms of personal development. We want everybody to, be here, and then once they leave here, to be better in a better position to move themselves forward in their work and what they enjoy after they leave. And so, yeah, that would be my big one. I think that's something that we kind of overlook all the time. And so, yeah, that's it. And I will pass it over to Edu.
Thank you, Nate. I have a few comments to say. The first one is that I do believe I can count around probably 6 or 10 queer people in this community. The thing is that I feel there is no space to visibility for them. So even if there is more, we just don't provide a space. And the same happens with women. And the same happens with any minority in the IT space, in the Web3 space, is that we are not providing a space for them to, um, it's not to provide a special attention or anything, but just making a conscious effort to leverage the missed opportunities that already exist. So I feel we do not make an effort on that. We do not make an effort on inclusivity, basically. And the fact that we are radically open source on the social aspect, it stays very passive. It doesn't become an active um, action. So that is something. That is something that I feel needs to be talked more. In general, minorities and the inclusion in the token engineering space is not only about TC, it's about Token Academy too. To the 3 presentations I have made on Token Academy, most of them are white people seeking for the knowledge. So I feel there should be this active um, sort of action to involve different people from different backgrounds. And for me, this is a little bit of also what Durga has mentioned regarding the power structures, and how we need to deconstruct these power structures that are more mentally than anything else. And because if we are not providing space or inclusion space for minorities, that means we still hold certain uh, mental and social power structure, and we are still sort of perpetrating these models in the organization in a way or another. So yeah, I will probably think on that. Um, there is a various of organizations that we can sort of rely or help us to empower, like Search Women, which is a project that it helps to empower women to enter the Web3 space. Um, and there is such a variety of possibilities there. Then the other points that I wanted to discuss is I feel, and I don't know, you can correct me, Livy, on this, but I feel we dropped the ball on Ostrom principles and how they are applicable in the TC. Like I feel like it could be. I feel like as a cultural practice, we do not have this process of checking if how has passed, like we have had almost 2 years here, and how are the Ostrom principles, like what has been the growth, what has been the evolution of those Ostrom principles within the organization, how did it started first and how it has evolved within the organization, and where will be the next steps, or where will be the advancements that we have done applying Ostrom principles, because I feel it's such a reliable and nice cultural practice that we have, but we don't discuss about them. We just say we apply them, but we actually don't get too deep into that. And I feel that should be something that we should talk more often. In the last point that Nate mentioned, reliability. I think many of us not realize, but like we we just assume that the funding proposal passed for the next 3 or 6 months, we will have an income. But then what happens after? There's no reliability, and it's not something about the TCs in general, the Web3 space. And I feel that brings certain level of uncertainty because you still have social security, or you still need to pay insurance. You need to, those things don't rely on 3 months. These things rely on a year, or this kind of thing. So I feel there is this non-spoken agreement to not talk about
Yeah,
stability.
sorry. Yeah, I think those last two, I'm just sorry to
Sorry.
cut you. It's just that those
No, no.
last 2 points we have been discussing in Softgov for a while, and just don't want to extend too much on it because we can touch on them later. And do you want to pass to someone?
Sure. Bye.
I'm slightly unsure because I haven't been involved in a lot of the topics that were discussed, so I don't know if the ones I'm saying are like, have they been discussed or not. Like, we as a community strive to be radically open source, but I'm personally want to find out, like, do we associate with the open source movement, and do we want to put more effort behind making more empowered projects that are more open and transparent to people that aren't necessarily entering the community. So, like, if you notice, most of our projects are contributed to only by people that are entering the community. So, eh, like, from what I understand about the movement, it's much more an open source project is a much more successful project if people, external people that randomly open issues, or people that are using the tech notice issues, they can reasonably contribute and open issues. And I personally don't see that, like, and there's also, like, a lack of documentation in some of our projects. So this isn't exactly a cultural discussion, is it? But I don't know. This is one of the things that was on my mind. And I'll pass it to uh, Bear 100. I don't know if they've gone on.
Sure, thanks. So I think I agree with pretty much what everyone has said. I would probably want to continue on what Nate said about I don't remember exactly, but about personal development and culture. They get us, for example, yesterday on the stewards meeting, they get us asked like how do, like, he saw a lot of people that are going continuously to the various meetings around the world, and he sort of wondered how does that work, if they paid out of their pocket, or if there's was any kind of sponsorship or something like that. And I think first of all, I think that's interesting because the space isn't particularly hard, but there are a lot of things that you cannot, like, there are some things that you just can't, that you just don't know how do they work, and they aren't necessarily as easy to figure out. That's one thing. And another thing on that same line, probably about maybe growing individuals' networks as a form of culture, because I think that has something to do with Dorguera's concern. Probably he just wants to sort of grow his network and know more people, and just just grow himself as an individual. And then I also wanted to say that it would probably be interesting if we could bring people from other communities to talk about their culture, because it's easy to get sort of caught up in what we do and what we think, but there's I guess the same as bringing the diversity to the TEC is good. I think bringing diversity to our opinions and how we perceive everything could be also valuable. And yeah, I'll pass it on to Mangi. I think he has some idea.
Thanks, NT. I just want to echo what Nate, NT, and Chewy said about mental health, importance of mental health, and the importance of diversity of religion, diversity of thought. I think they go hand in hand in some aspects. In terms of mental health, I think the majority of the people here in Web3 are millennials, and we've grown up in front of screens. And there's been many studies showing the dopamigenic effects of watching screens and the addictive nature of that. And because this is the lay of the land for us, we're on screens for the majority of the time that we're awake, we may not even be aware of how this is affecting our mental health. TEC is a culture of gratitude, of giving, but we can't do that if we don't take care of ourselves first. So I agree with Nate. It's very important that we understand that these are the tools that we use to help society, but the limitations of those tools and perhaps some of the drawbacks. So maybe TEC can implement something like 4 days off, or at least encourage members to take some time off, get away from the screens, get away from technology, maybe decompress in nature, whatever it is that you do to unwind, take some time to do that. What Chewy said about religion, I think if we have diversity in religion, diversity of people, genders, LGBTQ, Hindus, Buddhists, Muslims, Christians, etc., they tend to, not always, but they tend to bring diversity of thought. So someone from a different religious sect will tend to have different views on subjects, and I think that defeats this potential of an echo chamber, especially in Web3 when you have you tend to have like uniform ideas, so that'll combat any potential of like an echo chamber, which I think most people would agree is bad. So that's it. Yeah, I agree with NT, Nate, and Chewy, and I will pass it to Zeptimus.
Thank you, Wancho. I actually have different opinion in that point of inclusion, and it's like for me, like if you are trying to get people, I don't know, like women or black people or whatever, you are being racist somehow. Like you are assuming like they cannot reach to here by themselves, so you're assuming like they need your help. Like for me, the most important thing is like respect, and things happen, right? Like in modeling, probably there's more women in NBA. Like there is a lot of black people, and it's because like probably their genetics or their skills like every time like people just go to where they fit. Like in even in working group, like if you go to Common Swarm, there was only men, like because they like to do that. Like it, but it doesn't mean like like you cannot be a woman and deploy your skills as a dev and go there. No one is stopping you from that. But it's like every people is choosing their path, and yeah. And what would happen like if Will Smith would be white when he slapped Chris Rock? Like the media would be quite different. But yeah, just that for that. Regarding the topic, one thing I would I would love, like we could develop on Softgov. It's in the I lost my thought, but yeah, when I'm doing the audit and for the accountability, like there's some people that says, okay, the updates are going to be on calls. So yeah, the calls are recorded, but it's very hard to track what has been done. I mean, you should watch all the calls. So I would love like we have some kind of process for gathering, yeah, all the information like more concrete, so it would make transparency life quite easier. Back to you, Olivia.
Olivia, may I just add? So I described the issues that I'm concerned of, but I didn't propose a solution. So perhaps maybe the TEC can implement like a meditation, some kind of meditation community or some sort, where it's just an idea that people get together and they meditate in front of with their cameras on.
Yeah, I was thinking
I
that
like
to be the next point of this talk, just to go through each one of the things that were suggested and understand if people would like to own them to propose a solution. And then we could have a series in Softgov that is hosted by different people who are proposing some type of action for these topics. So I see that some of the things we got are race and gender concerns, mental health, religion, diversity, bringing other communities to speak of their culture, and having a process for gathering information more concretely. So I think we have a few routes that we could explore. We could use this call to go deeper on them, but also there was another topic I wanted to dive in that is related to this, but it's this the metrics that we've been talking for a while, and there was some progress on them. So there's some questions from here too that we could probably look at together. Do you guys think that if we do my proposal is maybe coordinating async in the chat, tagging each one of you who mentioned some of these topics, and seeing if we could coordinate for the next calls to have a proposal for each one of them. What do you think?
I think that works. It works for me.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Cool.
I wanted to say also that maybe there's just so much we can do in an hour, but maybe we should bring back the meditation. I remember on 2 sessions we started with meditation. That was really nice. Yeah, just that.
Nice. I love that you all like the meditation. Yeah, we can bring this up. Vi, what is that you just messaged me? Wondering if this tracking application can be used as a source grid.
Yeah, that's related to the conversation we were having about source grid in the praise discussion channel. Sorry, this was one that was from a different context. I just messaged that now. Sorry.
You mean from these tracks that we're trying to get here from this board?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Since I think some of the conversation reward pools having a while ago was since there might be diminished amount of contributors to source grid, so it would probably go unmaintained after a while. And if we're looking for another system, if we're making an application that tracks all of these metrics, we could probably use the same application, and we can get the grid algorithm out of source grid and uh, do the same quantification in this application, and then link it with the minting application that Blaze and source grid would use combined together. But yeah, that's something that would probably need more refinement.
Yeah, that could be a solution for sure. If we look, maybe even karma would be something that works here. So just as a just to update everyone on what is this, and that goes to your point too, Edu, of we've been working on this for quite some time, and recently I was speaking to Mahesh and Seed Code from Karma, and then also Benz and Vivavi, and we were talking of like how could we create some metrics to measure ecosystem health. That was my main point. That's the biggest thing I've been thinking for Softgov for a long time. Like, how could implementing Ostrom's principles be something sustainable and something that offers insights on the health of the ecosystem? Like, how can ecosystem health be measured? And in different communities, so in the governance reward system research group, we were looking into health metrics for different communities, and then each community has their own structure, and this structure will tell a lot about the interactions that people have there, and what this health means for that system. And for the TEC, something that was discussed a lot was that health meant how well the Ostrom's principles are implemented, and how this is helping us to achieve the mission of advancing the field of token engineering.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, Edu.
I saw your message asking for clarification regarding Discord, if I'm not wrong. And then we have had this conversation on Communitas for a while, and Benz has sort of the one trying to come out with what kind of metrics make sense. I think there's a thread on Communitas regarding this to you guys meet. But in general sense, I will say that for the past time, there are metrics that are native to our community, as you mentioned. For example, involvement of people in the praise system. That will be a metric interested that will say a lot about the health of our community. Because if suddenly you have a drop of activity in praise, that means something's going on in the community, something along those lines. But there should be also metrics that aims to improve aspects of the TC. For example, we can talk. I'm just gonna make up, but how many spaces we held for mental health or all this kind of stuff. So I feel there are different aspects of metrics that could be quantify as metrics. One that are given by Discord, but the same platform, such as how many people came back after a week, how many people engaged in text, and how many people engaged in voice channels. Those are metrics that are given by Discord itself. But there are other ones that I will say we should come up with as a way to understand other aspects of the health that is not necessarily relying on Discord native metrics. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, those are not all Discord native metrics. Feel free to look at the ones that are here, and if you see something missing, to put a post-it. We've been working in this board. It's the TC retrospective board. It's in the agenda now.
Will do.
And nice, thank you. So yeah, we've been trying to see like what are the implementations of each one of the principles here in the bottom, and what are some of the metrics here on top. And then the challenge of the metrics was some of them are not the process we've been doing now, and we're working with Ben. He just couldn't come today, but the process we've been looking at is this a metric that has a measure? Like, can we already measure and track that data? Is this a metric that doesn't have we could possibly track that data, but we're not doing it? Or is this a metric that we don't have a known way to capture that data, or maybe that doesn't seem possible at all? So we were trying to separate into this 3 buckets, kind of. And thank you so much, Vi, for all the comments you left here, because I think they are super helpful of some of the things we can already track. And then this one I tagged you with you because I know there was a dashboard that you were using to track some activity from Discord at some point. I don't know how is that still active?
Yeah, it is still active. Everyone can check it out. So basically, if you right click on TEC, I mean anyone, the ones with permit, and you go to server adjustment, there is a category called information of the server, and it's just above partner program. And under that category, you will see a pop out, and then you have to click on another link that says there, and it will take you to the detailed information of all this. But we already have processed this information. So yeah, I will answer this on the middle board, and then we can see how that's it. But that's one of the things that Ben sort of are trying to figure out also.
Oh, cool.
So I'd like to add just one thing over it. Everyone can't see that dashboard. For context, maybe we can bring it up. Only people that have server edit permissions can view the official dashboard metrics on the web page that Discord shows. But besides that, that's slightly inaccurate. The ones on there, they're like an estimation, and I think we'd probably like to get more detailed tracking of sorts. Like and this is doable. We just need to make a bot that just listens to events happening in the server and just logs everything, and we can get all that raw data, and we can do whatever analysis we want to do on top of that. So we can because there's multiple meanings of lurkers. Like, are they lurking in the chat, but are they just attending calls, or are they someone that attends the calls and participates in the conversation? Because I think a lot of people in the TC who might not be communicating in the Discord, but they do attend a lot of the calls, because a lot of the actions are happening inside the calls. So we will probably need a lot more data for that. Yeah, that's all about this point.
Sorry, so I didn't get the lurkers part. I think Discord has 3 kind of categories for this. Like, one is a lurker, which depends on the amount of time that person spends on Discord in the Discord of the community. And then they also have 2 other categories. Which one is, I don't remember the names, but there is one for people who text, and there is other people who joins a voice channel, doesn't matter how long, and they are not categorized as lurkers. They are just have a separate category for that, and they quantify that too. But I don't know if you are referring to that or something else. If you're talking, Vi, you are muted.
Yeah, you're talking about the engagement screen, right? Where it shows different menus for message activity and voice activity, right?
Yeah, I don't recall where it is at the moment, but yeah, I can check it. I mean, we can do this async if you prefer, because I don't want to take the conversation regarding
All
this.
right.
Okay, so can I so you both and Benz are taking a look on this point, right?
Yeah, sure.
Is that participation just like social participation, or are we looking also at I guess governance participation on, I don't know, Snapchat and Gardens and all of that?
Yeah, governance participation is a metric that Karma could track. So we're still understanding if we should use the Karma dashboard. That is kind of Gitcoin uses Karma. A few other communities use Karma. It's kind of a reputation system that gets data from a few of these activities. So Gitcoin, for example, sees how many people commented on forum posts, how many forum posts, how many DAOs they're part of, how much they voted, what is like in how many proposals they voted, things like that. So this is something we could get data from Snapshot and from Gardens, and I think we should. So that's a metric that's kind of a given, and this would for sure influence on participation. The idea, what I was thinking, is that each one of these principles would be kind of a cluster of metrics, and then having a few metrics together, we could set up how much is an okay metric for that principle in specific. So taking perhaps an average of all these metrics that belong to this principle, and then having a measure of, like, let's say we have 3 colors. If clearly defined boundaries is on red, we understand that our boundaries are weak and that we should be looking into that. And then to look into that, we would look into each one of the metrics individually and see which one of them is unbalanced and that should receive more attention. So that's why I think it would be good for us to break them down as much as possible and have them clustered, rather than having one big metric that has a lot of inputs into how that's working. Any questions or comments, or we can move to another one? Okay, so a number of proposals that are aligned with our mission. This is something that's very subjective. So how does anyone decide which proposals are aligned with our mission? Can we call proposals that pass as proposals that are aligned? I think that's a really good question.
In
Maybe
the
we
ideal
could.
scenario,
Yeah,
sorry, go on.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, in an ideal scenario, all the proposals that are passing should be proposals that are completely aligned with our mission. However, that is probably not true, and we should assume that it wouldn't be true. So there's a, it's really subjective. We could maybe do sentiment analysis on proposals, but again, that's really hard to do. Uh, one way we could do this is that um, uh, we have like a review group of sorts inside the TC. That's that that just comments, not comments, that just reviews proposals and gives them a alignment score. maybe something like quantifiers or maybe stewards, and maybe that slightly significant amount of people. But then again, it's really hard to get that kind of metric, since it's like there's a wide variety of proposals, and a lot of them would probably not exactly align. So it's going to be hard to say. Like for example, right now there's multiple working groups, and they have funding proposals uh, uh, on the gardens, and say for example one day the TEC doesn't uh, the comms DAO is moving into a different direction than the TEC's mission. Uh, so would we call that as like aligned with the TEC or not? So there's a lot of like decisions that need to be made, and I don't know if there's a you know unstructured way of doing this.
I, I just wanted to add that I think we really need to define what aligned means for the TEC. I know we have this kind of broad, ambiguous type of mission statement, and a lot of things can be interpreted. And so I feel like if we can define some type of qualities that these proposals hold, it would help us along the way of measuring that. But right now, it's very, very broad, where it's just like, I would say, like my initial reaction to the NumFocus proposal was, not in alignment. But there was an angle there that, Zargum kind of pointed out that pushed it into alignment, in my opinion. And so it's just one of those things, because like it can be aligned from intent, but the execution of it could be completely off base. And was it aligned after all? Probably not. And so I don't know. It's one of those things that we have to really work on defining what it means to be aligned with our mission.
Yeah, that is a good point. I wonder if we are ready to do that yet, or if we need to have more proposals to gather some type of community sentiment, like 5IV said. Maybe after we could propose something that, like, after 3 months, we have a sentiment analysis, like from the proposals that passed in the last 3 months, and then listing them all, and then asking, like, how was the percentage of alignment someone perceived from that proposal? And then just showing that analysis as a graph instead of taking any conclusion.
Yeah, and I would say that that's difficult too, because it's very subjective. And like this is kind of my argument with like the NumFocus one, was that there are no analytics for that type of proposal. We're just trusting a third party to actually advance token engineering in a way that cannot be quantified or subject to our evaluation. And so I would love to see more requirements for proposals to have, tangible outcomes that are achieved, or at least
I think
proposed.
yeah, I think it's very important for the subjectivity to be there. Otherwise, we might get too stiff, and stiffness is like the opposite of resilience. And then maybe we would become bureaucratic instead of like actually helping to understand, because at this point we're also understanding what belongs to the field of token engineering, and I think this should be relevant. So maybe having an analytic that is very subjective, but just showing that to the community, so there's always an awareness of where we're going, could be interesting.
And I do agree with that, and I think that we've talked about how we can prevent that type of bureaucracy from forming, but we don't also analyze the opposite end of that spectrum where we have our funds being completely depleted by projects that promise to advance token engineering and their impact is nil. And so I think that's something that we don't have protections for. In the opposite direction, I think that's something we should take into consideration as well.
I think something multi-level classification of proposals might be useful. So like we make we decide on what does add value to the space. No, because there's certain things that do add value that we can somehow agree on. So for example, if someone's if for example TE Academy is taking sessions and educating people about the space and getting more people into token engineering, that is equivalent to accelerating token engineering. So that's like a class of say proposals that we can group them into, and then other class would be internal services that are happening inside the TC, and things that help TC function, and we can have some form of grouping like that. That makes it slightly more specific to find out if what a proposal actually is and if we can call it aligned, because like the mission is very broad, and we can also revisit all the conversation that was happening when we were coming up with the mission vision values. There was a lot of good arguments made over there. I think we can have a look at that data and try to make a more defined picture for a proposal. It's not going to be we can't possibly make something that would stick, but if it helps a little bit, I think that's more the reason for having this, just for the metric. Because that's subjective. If you're doing like sentiment analysis on this, it's going to be really hard to make it unbiased, because at some point in time we're going to have to take 3 or 4 people and or maybe more than that, and tell them to say if this is aligned or not, or something of the sort. If we're automatically doing sentiment analysis, that would be hard.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about sentiment analysis. Like and I'm going to bring up num focus again because I think it's a prime example of it. It's like there's nobody in the world who's going to say that proposal is not aligned. But the intent behind it is a little bit different than what I think people really take it at face value, which is this is not about helping the infrastructure tools to fund those infrastructure tools, because this proposal is more about getting into a partnership with NumFocus, who's a much larger organization who spends $20+ million a year from their private donations to actually fund these programs. And so when I see a proposal like that, there's objectively or subjectively, like nobody in this community is not going to be in alignment with it, but the impact and the intention behind that proposal is something that I think is not in alignment. And so it just there's so many elements to the subjective nature of sentiment that I don't think gives us concrete outcomes to what we're trying to evaluate.
But that is something that would become, your opinion would be something that would be well exposed in a sentiment analysis, for example. Like many opinions like yours and having that's exactly what a sentiment analysis would do. It's like, even if something
True, but if the
looks,
outcome is like 90% to 99 to 1%, like it's not going to really change the outcome. Like it might change it a little bit, but for the most part, it's going to be aligned. And it doesn't really change the way we do things or evaluate proposals.
Does anyone else that hasn't spoken yet has any thoughts?
I was thinking what Nate said. Maybe you can do like a sensitization workshop so you can get your views out there because it's logical. And I think it may resonate with some. Maybe they may not see it now, but after hearing the pros and cons, maybe that'll change their opinion on this issue. Because there's a lot of substance to it. It's just a matter of getting that opinion across the community.
Vi, you were going to say something? Do you want to close this?
Yeah, just one thing. If we look at the way we're quantifying value with praise, perhaps something of the sort can be of value over here, where we can have like a large pool of people uh, assigning uh, assigning value on a scale to this, so that kind of reflects your opinion slightly better. It's not yes or no, it's more like uh, it can be a logarithmic scale, or it can be, you know, the scale we're using on praise, it can be Fibonacci, but essentially like it enhances your ability to disagree, or so maybe we could do maybe we could have some form of similar uh, proposal quantification or proposal value alignment estimation uh, practices. Maybe that could be possible, I guess, if there's enough people interested in doing that, and we can somehow find people uh, that are vouchably more value aligned than people that just joined the community. So maybe we can say the people that are parts of like trusted seeds in different organizations, maybe. uh but yeah, that's just a thought.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. We're on the top of the hour. I appreciate you all coming. Hi, Durgadas. Nice to see you here. And I'll leave comments in the chat about the first part of the call and what everyone suggested, and see how we can carry on with that. And this, feel free to jump in this board. We've been working async here mostly, but we'll continue to bring up to these calls. Thank you all.
Thank you, Livy.
Thanks, Libby.
Bye.